আপনারা দেখছেন ILFL সকার নাইট। সৌজন্যে নীলাজ হোম লিমিটেড, প্রবাসে মায়ের হাতের ছোঁয়া।
And welcome back to the final segment of the show. So Jermaine and Jim have remained with me. We've brought Remy back on from Robin Hood Tigers, and Shaquille's here, both ILFL and Bromley. So I thought I'll get a good mix here. We've got young lads here who are with new and upcoming teams, and then we've got the experience here. Enough of the antagonism, shall I call it? Right, Jermaine, I think what the other teams, and it's just really funny, just when we took the commercial break, a quick little phone call comes, we want to know more about the teams. So reluctantly, we've had to go back over to this and say, Hackney and Leighton League, we've got Clapton Rangers, FC Bartlett, Tottenham Phoenix, and what's that, London Meteors. Yeah. So do you want to just tell us a bit more about the four teams? And let's start with the cream of the crop, Clapton Rangers. So they're in this competition, they're top of the league. Were they champions last year?
They weren't in the Champions League last year. They actually wasn't I don't think they was actually in the league last year. They've come back. They've taken a year out and they've come back this year and they've come back stronger.
Of course.
Clapton Rangers have never actually won the Hackney and Leighton before, but they've won a lot of cups, including the London Junior Cup, London Intermediate Cup, semi-finalists in the Challenge Cup, and a whole host of cups in Hackney and Leighton. But they're top of the Hackney and Leighton, and they've told me no matter what happens, whether it be the weather, nothing's stopping them winning the league this year. So we'll just see how it goes.
Well, I mean, they're 9 points clear as of yesterday. So yeah, I can see that happening cleanly. I mean, are you expecting them to be your main representative and the ones that probably win it for you?
I'm expecting, this is probably one of the strongest Clapton sides I've seen in many years. They're a great side. They're a side that just plays football, and some of the teams love to play against them, whether they lose or win, because it's just football, and whatnot. But I'm expecting big things from Clapton Rangers this year.
Okay. I mean, just going on to your second team here. So FC Bartlett, they're obviously a Tower Hamlets team.
Yeah, they are.
And I mean, are they supposed to be your second representative, or are they the boys that are giving you the tricks away and the tips away about ILFL and what they're all about?
FC Bartlett are a credit to the league, credit to themselves. They could have won everything last year. As it is, they won the league and another cup as well, and got beaten on I think in penalties in the two semi-finals against Young London Meteors and Phoenix. They're a side that everyone respects because they're young and they're very, very confident in their abilities, and whether they win or lose, it's always a close game. FC Bartlett.
Jim, I'm going to ask you a bit of a tricky question actually, because I'm looking at the Hackney and Leighton League, and Clapton Rangers are top of the table by 9 points. So it seems to be clean sweep for them nearly. Whereas if you look at the ILFL, London Tigers are probably our main representative. They're top of the league, but they played a game more with only 3 points ahead, so it's a lot tighter. Now, in your experience, has the tighter league shown more consolation and more sort of compactness that will shine through when they're up against other teams that are sort of walking over teams and winning it? Or do you reckon, I mean, Clapton FC, they deserve what they got, and anyone coming up against them are going to have a run for their money?
Absolutely. I've seen Clapton Rangers play, not this season I might add, and one of the best sides in the Camden League over the last probably 3 or 4 years, a team called Phoenix, have now gone across to the Hackney League. I personally thought Phoenix would do very, very well. But they came up against some very tough sides, including Clapton Rangers. And I went over and see a few of the games, and I must admit I was impressed by the top sides in the Hackney and Leighton League. And it's well respected in the area as well. So I pretty much expect those few sides to be the ones to beat. And I know my own club will be, and I don't mean this disrespect to anyone else in the league, but that's the teams we're looking to be playing. That's the teams, hopefully, if we're down further in the tournament, we'll be up against.
Gents, I'm going to sort of flick over to you because, I mean, Remy, you've probably had spells in different leagues. I mean, you're quite comfortable now in the Inner London Football League because it's your home league. But you played in the Hackney League. I mean, what was the competition like a few years ago when you played? I mean, you were a lot younger. But
yeah, I was a lot younger, but we was playing against a lot of older people than myself, and it was competitive, but it was a good experience at that. I know we're at the cup now, but maybe next year we'll get to play against some of these teams that you talk about. But it was competitive league. There was a lot of teams in it, and a lot of the squads were big, many substitutes and stuff like that. There was big squads, so yeah.
Shax, I mean, have you seen any of these other leagues? I mean, personally, I haven't. So I don't know what position you're in. Have you seen them?
Unfortunately, I haven't. But the way these guys are saying, it seems it's like it's a different challenge. It's a different level of football. It's just like the Premiership and the Championship. It's two different levels of football. And it would be interesting for the IFL guys, the teams from IFL, to play against this, because I think it would be a total different game. It would be a different challenge. It would be, I think it would be much stronger, more physically stronger. I think the game type of football would be, I think, more faster. They'll have to play football rather than playing a Route 1 football, I mean, just getting the balls and long balls all the time. They'll have to be more Italian football. You'll have to think more strategically. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Okay. I mean, Jermaine, you've seen a lot of ILFL football teams, in addition to the Hackney Leighton League. The one thing you must have noticed is the diversity and sort of the representation of the community. So, in your experience, could you tell us about what you've seen from the ILFL in terms of community representation and the Hackney Leighton League?
Well, as I've reffed a few games in there, and it's funny because I was reffing the games and thinking I'm quite impressed with some of these teams' football. Yeah. And like I mentioned, SCTA, Bromley, Beaumont, West End, I've actually reffed, and I was very, very impressed with the style of play. It's football, and as a referee, like, you know, if they're not just punting the balls, they're playing football, so you can keep up with play more rather than they're just punting the ball back. So it's really good to see that teams playing football, because if you're playing football, that's what's going to win you games. Yeah. Not just punting the ball up, but if you're playing football, that's what's going to win you games. Most of the teams, like London Tigers from the Musicians League, very good side, and you know they were playing very, very good football. But I think some of the teams this year from the ILFL, I think, have improved. Good. On last season. Absolutely. That is definitely what I think.
I mean, I just hear you echoing that, Jim. I mean, I mean, Jim, because you've obviously seen Tower Hamlets football for over a decade now. Years, when you first sort of got your first sniffs of Tower Hamlets football and the Inner London Football League at that time, when we were really new, but I mean, what developments have you seen since then? I mean, from what we were and what are we today?
It's incredible. It's two ends of the spectrum, because when they first started, a lot of the local sides were sides that didn't play competitive football. They were just mates that kind of kicked about together. It wasn't very well organised. As you said earlier on, a lot of it was Route 1 over the top. But the sides have developed now, and there's a lot more intelligence in their play. There's a lot more strength in their play. They're trying to keep the ball on the ground. But also, I notice a lot of the sides are a lot fitter these days as well. They're so much more organised. They do train, whereas in the early days, a lot of players would just turn up and play. So for me, the ILFA FL, I should say, is incredible. But I think what's helped them more so is the diversity over the last few years. They've brought a lot of experienced players in to the league, and I think that's helped each of these individual clubs. Not just individual in terms of the development of that club, but playing against teams that have got much more experienced players. I've seen a massive improvement over the years.
I mean, gents, you two managing lower division teams, you've got a very young squad. What Jim's saying now, I mean, fitness has changed. I mean, Remy, because obviously you're assistant coach at Robin Hood Tigers. Have you found yourself with the training regime and stuff actually taking away tactics and technical and putting more fitness into it?
Yeah, because that is a big part of the game, especially where a lot of teams are now playing football, which means you have to work harder as a team, so fitness is a key part of it. And as you said before, when the league first started, or when the new teams come in, it was just mates coming together and playing football, but now it's more organised and we're actually competing with these other teams, so yeah, definitely.
Shax, I mean, you run a juniors team.
Yeah.
Are you finding yourself now, because what, they under 14s, aren't they?
Yeah, I did under 12s. And
Yeah. Are you focusing on their fitness more, or are you still trying to get technical ability with them?
You got to mix it, and I think that's the difficult part. You got to have the stamina, but then you got to be slightly clever, and try and get the stamina and the ball working together. And I think that's what I try to improvise my youngsters, my under 12s and under 14s, even the junior guys. Try to do the stamina work with the ball, and that's the difficult part. But if you can get the difficult part, make it easy, I think that's where you're doing right.
Yeah, okay. Just to really round off the Champions Cup there, then, what I'm going to do is back on the screen, I'm going to show everyone the fixtures again, because, I mean, this is, I know so many leagues have sat tonight on the telly to watch it. So, over to you guys again on the screen. The fixtures for the Interleague Champions Cup round 1 is as follows. Gower All-Stars versus Beaumont, Young London Meteors versus Virgin MMB, Tottenham Phoenix versus London Tigers of the ILFL, MK Galacticos versus West End FC, Clapton Rangers versus London Tigers of the Musical League, Inter Asia versus Stepney, Moston FC versus Bromley, and lastly FC Bartlett versus Hackney Vikings. I mean, I'm just going to quickly go around and get some. I'd like you guys just to pick a fixture and tell me, what do you think you're going to? I mean, if I start with you, Jermaine, because you've seen a lot of these teams. So if you was to pick a fixture, what would you say is the most tricky fixture? Who would you go for?
I think the most tricky fixture, I think, would be Clapton Rangers, London Tigers, because Black Meters last season played the London Tigers and beat them 2-1 and went on to win the league. And I think that was probably, you know, I think Rashid was there, and that was a really tough game. So, you know, I think Clapton Rangers versus London Tigers for me is one that stands out. But having said that, the new teams, Galacticos, West End, Moyston and Bromley, would be games I would like to watch to see how those games pan out.
I mean, Jim, are you going to go for the same fixture because they're both top of their respectively?
Without a doubt, I think it's the biggest game of the draw, without a doubt.
I mean, Remy, there probably won't be, if there isn't any ILFL fixtures, will you take the chance to actually go down and see some of these games?
Yes, most definitely, because that game, as you said, both teams are at the top of the league, so it's going to be a big game. Both teams are going to want to win, a lot of quality in the match as well as that. So.
And Shakil, no doubt you're going to be there to see Bromley versus Moston FC, aren't you?
Of course, yeah, but I like to see the new team that's come in. I like to see how they play football and the way they go about it, and that'll be interesting.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, well, thank you for that on the Champions Cup. I mean, we can't finish the show without going back over to the league. So this coming Sunday, we've got the ILFL second round of the League Cup. Fixtures that couldn't take place yesterday. If I just show you on the screen now, the fixtures that are happening this Sunday are Beaumont Youth versus Reach Out, Bow versus Burdett, Leytonstone versus Sire, that's the all Premiership tie there. London Tigers versus St Catherine's, top of division, Premier Division versus so second from bottom of this first. SCTA versus Stepney, which is going to be an absolute thriller from what I know. And Tower Hamlets B versus West End. So that is your second round of the League Cup. And if I stay on the screen with you and flick over to the other fixtures, teams that are not in the Cup will get some of their league games out of the way. So Robin Hood Tigers will be the away team against Redcoat FC. A win for them will take them 8 points clear because Beaumont won't be playing. And West End Reserve is the other team that's out of the Cup versus Al Mizan. So there we have it. I mean, that's what we've got for the weekend. And in 3 weeks' time, we've got the Champions Cup, as I've just shown you guys. We've only got a minute to talk about it. Remy, I know you've said it. You're looking to beat Redcoat, but you know you only beat them 5-2 in the first game. Yeah. What do you reckon? They're going to be tougher, or you reckon you're going to be stronger?
I think we're going to be stronger. That was our first game, and we've come a long way since then. So we're really looking to this improve on our performance.
Good. Shakil, I mean, Western Reserve and Al Mizan. Take a quick punt. Who do you reckon will have that?
I'd like to say Al Mizan.
You'd like to say Al Mizan. Okay. Well, there you have it. That's a sum up of the Champions Cup. So we're going to be talking about it for the next few weeks. That's the end of the show. So next week we're looking forward to Nanu coming back on, our statics man, with everything about the veterans. We're going to cover all the League Cup fixtures and those 2 fixtures we spoke about in the divisions. We'll look at the upcoming fixtures. I'd like to thank Jim Hendry for coming down, Jermaine for coming representing the Hackney and Leighton League.
Thank you.
Thank you to Remy and the other lads for Robin Hood Tigers, and no doubt we'll see you probably at the end of the season again. And once again, Shakil, was always Big thank you to all the guys behind the screen that are helping us out. Thanks to everyone at ILFL that's making this happen. Thanks to you guys for tuning in and watching us, and just keep on watching. We love your ideas. You can see it across the bottom of the screen, the email address. Any suggestions, any questions you have, send them across to us. We'd love to deal with them. But from me and all the guys and all the team, thank you very much. See you guys next Monday.